So guys, out here in Hawaii, and the first night of Bellator's doubleheader of action kicks off tonight. Main event, Ronnie Marks versus Josh Barnett. I want to tell you guys about this fight just so you can enjoy it, because I feel as though so many people don't know what's happening. First off, Josh Barnett has been out for a meaningful period of time. I think it was 3 years. And he had so much drama in between that. I mean, he had some issue with USADA that he ended up being cleared from, was mad about it, as you would, ends up asking for a release from the UFC, signing with Bellator, but then didn't fight in Bellator. And I remember when Josh came over thinking, oh, I see what they're going to do with Josh. They're going to put Josh against Fedor Emelianenko, do the fight that was promised in Affliction in, 2009-ish, 2008-ish, and never happened. I got this whole thing figured out. Well, no, that wasn't the direction they went with Josh at all. So Josh just sat for a while, and I do not know why. I do not know between him signing and later this evening when he's going to be taking on Ronnie Marks, why there was that pause. I know Josh was super busy. He was training people, guys, girls that were fighting all over the world. He was having to go to Russia once and twice a month. He was doing professional wrestling. He got a grappling league going with Sakuraba. He's into the catch. I mean, Josh Barnett is one of these guys. He just goes nonstop. But he had his own fight contract, and now he has his own promotion, right? Or in terms of he's got a promotion that he is now part of. What the hell's Josh Barnett? And Josh is one of these guys. If you wanted to break down why he was so great, you would probably just defer to what he would tell you his strength is, which is catch wrestling. But if you go look at his record, his ground and pound has won him just as many fights. His ability to push hard for 3 to 5 rounds and go a decision has won him just as many fights. He's even won a whole bunch of fights by knockout. But you would probably say his catch wrestling is his strength. I don't see it that way. Josh Barnett is just a winner. There are some guys who are just winners. They just know how to go out and compete under any skill set, any rules, and then get their hand raised. There's just guys that know how to do that. He's one of those guys. He's taken on Ronnie Marks. Now, in full disclosure, Ronnie Marks is my teammate, so I know Ronnie very well, but Ronnie is so greatly underrated. Ronnie's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, trained by Andre Pederneiras. Lives out in Las Vegas right now, trained at Extreme Couture, works out with Ray Sefo every day, trains with some of the best guys in the world, and they will all vouch for him that he is a straight-up killer. Ronnie Marks was in the UFC, and I believe he was 26 years old. And he had a fight that he was winning. He won the entire fight and lost seconds of it. I don't know, 12 seconds of the fight, but he got TKO'd within those 12 seconds to a guy named Yoel Romero. The reason I say to a guy named Yoel Romero is at the time that this fight happened, that was just a guy named Yoel Romero who was this old man who was lucky to even be signed. Yoel was like 36 or 37 at the time of this story. So the UFC looked at it and goes, Ronnie, if you can't close out a fight against this guy who's 10 years older than you, this just isn't where you belong. Well, nobody knew that Yoel was Yoel. So Ronnie kind of looked at it the same way. Yeah, you know, I did a terrible job. I couldn't close that fight out. I guess I should move on. And then we find out that Yoel, one of the baddest dudes in the world. But it was too late. Ronnie was gone. And he was at 185 pounds then. So he goes on the regional circuit and he starts fighting all over the place. He's doing heavyweight fights. He's doing light heavyweight fights. He did some of his best work at light heavyweight, some of his most work, but he's a very comfortable heavyweight. When he competes in grappling, he doesn't cut any weight. And he'll weigh in anywhere from 240 to 250, including when he goes down and cuts down to 205 pounds. He'll be 240 and 250 15 or 16 days before weigh-in. This guy is one of these, he can just lose weight really fast and he can gain weight really fast. He's just one of these guys. I like him at heavyweight. I always have. I've begged him and encouraged him. Quit going light heavyweight. Quit talking about returning to 185. Heavyweight. You're over 6 feet tall. You're tall enough for this weight class. And then he's also one of these guys, by the way, when he gains a bunch of weight, he gains it the right way. I'm not talking about all of a sudden he gets a belly on him. No, he's not one of those guys. He mainly puts it in his legs, His ass gets bigger, his arms get bigger. But you know those guys that have those big, powerful, we call them tree trunks, but those big, powerful legs and that big, muscular ass? Well, that's really good. Your hips are so important. And when his hips are big and strong, I can just share with you. Skill for skill and move for move, Ronnie Marks is going to give Josh Barnett a lot more problems than any odds maker is thinking. This fight is going to go for a long time. I don't know what Josh has been doing the last 3 years, and I fully acknowledge he's an incredible fighter, and oh, by the way, he's also just a winner. And you're not likely to get the jump on Josh Barnett. Very few men have. I'm just telling you guys the other side of the story. Anybody that looks at the name Ronnie Marks thinks, oh, isn't that former middleweight, or isn't that guy from the PFL, and he was a light heavyweight? Yeah, that's the guy. That's true. But now he is now at the weight class that he should be in. And he has not been sitting around for 3 years. He has been training and competing for 3 years. This is a hard fight. Move over to what you're going to see tomorrow. Alima Lay versus Kate Jackson. That's Alima Lay's toughest fight as well. Now, she's in Hawaii, and I will tell you, you talk about crazy crowds. And when I use the word crazy, I mean, this is a compliment. When you have a crazy crowd, but it's always based on something different. Like take the Irish crowd or even a British crowd, which is very similar, and they're singing all night long. That is largely alcohol fueled. They show up, they're fired up, they're smart, they're going to support their own. Oh, and by the way, they're going to do something called tailgating or pre-funking before it. It's largely inspired by alcohol. I was in Israel. The Israeli crowd was crazy, but it was a totally different kind of crazy. This, I don't even know that there was alcohol in the building. And by the way, you had half of the building full with kids 11 and younger, and the other half was their parents. It was an extremely young and mixed family environment. But when an Israeli walked out, security couldn't even control them. They would run down, they would try to get, it was crazy. Hawaii is a different level of crazy though. They have a pure passion to back their own the end. And when Alima Lay comes out, she is going to be fueled by that, and she is going to be driven by that. She is also going to be standing across from the toughest test that she's had so far. And Alima Lay is a champion fighter, and she's a championship round fighter, something that Kate Jackson has never had the experience of doing, a test that she hasn't ever been given, let alone proven that she can pass. But take it from me. I'm telling you right now, Kate Jackson is the toughest opponent on paper that Alima Lay has ever had.